Bases dropped for Tuesday thoughts on Soccer's morning show. It is Soccer Down here. John, hear you there. And thanks for hanging out as you always do. There's a lot of things going on this morning, Coco. And yes, happy Masters Week. And be on the lookout for a Monday finish. Monday finish, first time in, I want to say, almost 40 years because of the weather. And that's the other thing. All right, y'all. This week, just be safe and be careful and make sure that everybody's okay. yes, nothing wrong with observing Masters Week since January. Nothing wrong with that at all. Yes, happy 404 day to all of those who observe. I don't know. I'm debating because I got to figure out how long the slack is on this cord because I could have shown the 404 scarf that I picked up on the weekend. So Monday finish. Keep an eye on that for the tournament out I-20 in the east, the very, very eastern parts of Georgia. I don't know if we can say the tournament name without getting into any kind of trouble. So happy week to all of those who observe this particular tournament. Technically, it's Jim Nantz week. I mean, think about it. Jim Nantz goes from Houston, Texas, where he was last night at NRG, hops on a plane, I'm imagining very private, and he goes from CBS and calling his last tournament. And yes, we will be getting into that, Tom. So excellent salvage yesterday. Flying on a very, very private jet. You know, I needs a private jet. From there to Augusta, calling his last college basketball tournament after 32 years. Iron Eagle now will step up into that space. Very, very cool move. Now he goes to Augusta and gets to hang out there all week long. There could be worse weeks on the calendar. Definitely could be worse weeks on the calendar going from the men's college basketball championship to the major in Augusta. Could be worse. Could be worse weeks. Could do a lot worse. Yes, Coco. So keep an eye on a Monday finish. Just be safe this week more than anything else. Be safe, be safe, be safe, be safe, be safe this week. That's what we're hunting for. Just be safe more than anything else. So you've got that this week. We've got, well, no, Sean, we have to talk about Harry Kane because we're discussing the context of the match. And yeah, Coco could be a Tuesday finish. We're gonna talk about Harry Kane. We're gonna talk about the match. We're gonna talk about the red card. We're gonna talk about all of that context. All the talk, yes, absolutely, it is all the talk. Because I mean, this morning, I was doing the rundown, and it is breaking news or developing story, depending on when you look at your press releases out of the NWSL. Big news there. You've got news out of the championship in England. We have to talk about what happened yesterday, Monday Night Football. And we have to yes, good. So Badger and Sean can have their own discussion. Yeah. And so we have to talk about the Lucas red. We have to talk about the Decore red. We have to talk about Harry Kane chasing after chasing after an Emmy. And so we'll be getting into that. So there's stuff in the championship where Jessica Charman probably is going earmuffs this morning, and we'll talk about that. We have Brendan Rodgers, who has come out publicly and discussed what he thought he could be doing with Leicester. You've got and this is going to be opening kickoff. It's going to be opening kickoff, and I've got to find the story, and I'll post it when it comes to what we saw in Liga MX. We've got Open Cup tonight. I want your cup sets. Then we'll go through the grid. We'll go through the grid for Open Cup, and I will ask what you guys think about these matchups. And we will be checking in, obviously, in a world of communication that we live in. When there are cup sets, when there are cup sets, we're going to be discussing all of those all week long. For those of you that missed it on the network, Prem and Proper is now up because there's matches again today on short rest. The MLS Weekend Review is up, and MLS Next Pro Weekend Review. Match week number 2 is up. Later today, we'll have our shows on USL Championship and USL League One. They'll be up. But obviously, like I said, biggest focus today is going to be on Open Cup, what happened yesterday in the Premier League, news and notes of the day, and all of these kinds of things. And yeah, and Ricky, I'm right there with you. It's something else that we have to discuss when it comes to Open Cup, the lack of available viewing. Because I know, and once again, I haven't hit opening kickoff yet. This is just discussions. When you get into all of the elements that are going on involving Open Cup, I mean, in its previous incarnation, you had ideas of where you could watch a whole lot of stuff. You could watch a whole lot of stuff, and you'd be flying around from match to match, and it would be like, all right, so here's what we're watching, and we're going to watch it all day, and it's going to be, we're going to be just going absolutely crazy watching all these things, and it's going to be amazing stuff. But currently, trying to find where things are, and what I'm trying to do here is look at who's where, what's going on. All right, so I haven't got to opening kickoff, but it looks like opening kickoff just got postponed. So Tuesday, Open Cup, and like I said, I want your cup sets in here. So we're gonna kind of go through the rundown and go through and what's available and what's not. All right. The Miami FC and Jacksonville Armada, for those of you that watched last time, Jacksonville Armada had to go all the way to goalie versus goalie crime to determine a winner over Miami United. That's at FIU. That's on a team cast. And I'm going to post the link for everything where you can or can't watch. So and Libertadores is tonight for those who observe. See, I mean, this is the kind of beauty. Morning, Dawn Star. Sponsors unhappy. The sponsors got to talk to John. Hartford Athletic Lansdowne Yonkers is a team cast tonight. So once again, when you have a team cast, it could mean one camera and it could mean a very, very high angle. One Knoxville and Memphis 901 at Regal Soccer Stadium. That one is apparently going to be a team cast as well. Detroit City and Gold Star Detroit. So basically, USL Championship versus NISA. That's at 7:30. That's at Keyworth. That's on the BR app and the BR Football on YouTube. Now, here's what's not on. Tampa Bay Rowdies and Nona. Flower City Union, Manhattan SC. Charleston Battery, Savannah Clovers. That one's disappointing. That one's disappointing at 8 o'clock. That one, to me, wish we could watch that one because it's the first time ever for Savannah Clovers, and they're not going to be on any kind of air as of this moment. Like I said, it's this moment. San Antonio FC and Lyon out of NISA Pro. That's supposed to be a team cast at 8:30. New Mexico United against UDA Soccer. That's the New Mexico State team that advanced out of the previous round. That's supposed to be a team cast out of New Mexico at 9 o'clock. And then Oakland Roots and El Farolito is at CSU Hayward. I guess technically they call it CSU East Bay now. That's on the BR Football app or BR Football YouTube. And we will run into the same issues on Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday, right now, you have 1, 2, 4, 6, 7. You have 9 of the games that will be broadcast in some way. 9 that will not. Well, technically 8 will not because We'd like to thank Rochester, New York FC for not being able to participate in any season ever for the remainder of time. So tomorrow you'll have 9 that will be broadcast, 8 that will not. With the previous rights holder, you'd have them all. You could sit there and just go between games. Game. Didn't happen. It's not happening now. But tonight, it is, as of this moment, 7 yes, 3 no. So you can, among Teamcast, it's among, John. It's among. Yeah, and CCL is tonight. Yes. You have, it was the, you have CONCACAF Champions League that's going on tonight, which is, seriously, this is going to be a fun night for a lot of stuff. Philadelphia and Atlas is at 8. Leon and Violette is at 10. And you've got Motagua Tigres, Whitecaps, and LAFC tomorrow at 8 and 10. So it's going to be a very, very busy night for the fingers and for the remote control and multiple devices and all these kinds of things. So let me know, since we're in this, yes, everyone's favorite Violette is playing. I want to know what you're watching tonight. I want to know what you're watching. Let me know what your progress and your process is going to be. What are you juggling tonight? What's going to be your pathway? How many devices are you going to have going up? Because it's Open Cup, it's Libertadores, it's CONCACAF Champions League. That to me means that my big screen is going to be locked on 2 to NA for the evening. That one's going to be okay. That one's going to be there. Well, Panthers and Sabres, true. Yeah, Sean right now is juggling also the National Hockey League, as you well should, this late in the year. So Sean has 7 or 7:30 Panthers and Sabres. Hopefully the game's done in 2.5 hours, no overtime or no extra 4-on-4. Then he goes to CCL. So Sean's going in that direction. So what's your path? Let me know what you're thinking. And I want to know what your progression is going to be and how many devices you're going to have up and running when it comes to all of the action tonight. Like I said, very, very busy night when it comes to what we're seeing. So, and I'm trying to see if we can have a truly degenerate segment. Okay. All right. So we've got juice boxes on 6 of the matchups. So when we get into that particular part of the show, we do have juice boxes. Most of them are traditionally one-sided, not a surprise. One of them was taken off the board. So technically we've got juice boxes on 5. About half of the matches tonight, we've got juice boxes. We'll get into that too. But opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And with this, once again, there's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. And what you can do is use the code SoccerDownHere15. Get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at the Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So, now, I don't know how many of you watch Liga MX on a weekly basis. But, and this is going to be another question I'm going to ask Bart when he comes in tomorrow. And you might know where I'm heading because I'm discussing it this way. Liga MX is launching, the Mexican Football Federation, launching an investigation after footage emerged of a referee appearing to knee a player in the groin during the Club America Leon match on the weekend. TV footage, and I'll post the link here. I will post the link in the Twitch pitch. You have video, and it's slow mode. It is slow mode. It's from our friends at The Guardian. They did a big story on it. TV footage showed referee Fernando Hernandez kneeing Lucas Romero as Romero and his teammates demanded VAR after America had scored an equalizer. Romero did not call for Hernandez to be punished and said that the incident was a misunderstanding. Obviously, and this is after the match, obviously referees, obviously they're human beings. Many times they can make mistakes, and those mistakes end up developing what happened. A lot of misunderstandings. Romero told 2DNA after the match. I'm not asking for anything, meaning any form of punishment. Told me it was unintentional. But just that they also respect us as we respect them on the pitch because they are the authority, end quote. Former referee Felipe Ramos-Rizzo said the action by the referee was unacceptable. The referee need the León player. This could cost Fernando Hernandez his career. How do you explain this aggression of the referee? He wrote on Twitter, adding that the president of the refereeing commission and its director of instruction will have to provide a good explanation. I'd love to hear this one. I'd love to hear the explanation for this. Well, you see, what happened was this happened. I got mad. They got in my face. I need him in the groin. Legitimately, I think that this is your only path. Legitimately, this is the only path for Fernando Hernandez. Dude's got to be up and honest about the whole thing. Yeah. Dude pissed me off. He was crowding my space. So I need him in the groin, basically to get him to back up. He chapped me, pissed me off. So I need him in the groin. And Coco is square on. Yes. One way to deal with dissent. And Tom, we may get into your thoughts about Apple TV this morning because of the consternation, as you say, with Apple TV and the Bird app and about subscription numbers. Well, first off, it's the Bird app. And I apologize. I'm taking all of my multivitamins right now. And apparently there's an out and things like that. But, yeah, let me write this down so I don't forget, Tom. So we'll talk about Apple TV as we go this morning, too. So there's plenty to talk about. Thank you, Sean. Well, I mean, trying to get a lot of things done. And, yeah, it is the dog app. Now, or are they just a presenting sponsor? Because the boss was bringing that up to me this morning and actually last night because, see, and I don't even know how to pronounce it. And so I don't know how to pronounce the presenting sponsor. So is it Doggy Coin? Is it Dogecoin? Like Doja Cat? How do you pronounce the presenting sponsor now? So instead of it being a bird, it's the Shiba Inu or whatever kind of dog it is, Lhasa Apso or whatever. How do you pronounce the presenting sponsor for the Bird app now, making it a Shiba Inu app? So that's the other part of this. But yeah, Tom, we might get into MLS and Apple TV this morning, considering all of the other things. The leader of Renaissance Venice, all those kinds of things. But yeah, MLS and Apple TV, we can get into that because MLS 360's turned 4 weeks old or 6 weeks old. And so we can talk about that too as a part of the larger picture. But yeah, if I am Fernando Hernandez, I think my career is over. And I don't care what the player says. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, it's cool. No, it's not. You're in a position of authority. And you're running that kind of action? No. Like I said, when Bart comes on tomorrow, we'll get into it. We'll discuss that as well. And I know that there have been folks, I can guarantee you, that have been in that position that wanted to do it but did not. And I imagine that's like 99.9% of the world that was placed in that position didn't do it. But in this new medium, this new era that we're in, where everything's on film or everything is on the card, everything can be seen. Fernando Hernandez might be out of a gig. As much as it might have been appropriate to do, you don't do that. So I saw that and I was like, yeah, we need to talk about that for a second. So we're going to talk. We talked about it, and that's your opening kickoff. Fernando Hernandez is today's MVP for the wrong reason. And that's your opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And use the code SoccerDownHere15. Thanks to everybody who has so far, by the way. And you get 15% off using the code SoccerDownHere15. Turn it around, you get they in turn take 10% and reinvest into the youth game. Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so the developing story that came out of very, very early this morning, and I mean it's pretty cool when you see this, but it goes to a deeper question and a deeper process. NWSL, that's a 14 team, and it's a group out of the Bay Area. I wonder if we're going to have the Cyber Rays returning. We'll see what they come up with. But rather long press release came out from the NWSL this morning, and I will try and track down. Yeah, Coca, that probably would be the question to ask. But I will try to track down Jen Hildreth and see if we can have her on now that the NWSL season is up and running, and we can get her and her experienced voice to discuss this. But the NWSL is announcing expansion to the Bay Area for team number 14. 6th Street, and we'll get into 6th Street coming up in just a bit. Say that 10 times fast. The largest investment to date in global women's soccer in a partnership with Brandy Chastain, Leslie Osborne, Daniel Slayton, and Allie Wagner. Sheryl Sandberg joins as a strategic investor and is going to serve on the club's board, which will also include 4-time NBA, 2-time WNBA champ executive Rick Welts. Club's going to play starting next year, so no time to waste. Now, Team 14, investment area, key generator, and this is from the league. And literally the league put out the equivalent, the PR equivalent of War and Peace. I'm not kidding. It is literally, you know, when you're in like high school, in elementary school, they teach you about the 5-paragraph essay, the opening, the introduction, your 3-paragraph body, and then your conclusion. This is a 5-paragraph essay on steroids. I mean, literally, this is like when this release was put together, it's like, okay, how many of you, and they were probably on a Zoom call of about 20, how many of you in the PR firm is sitting going, okay, how many of you want to have a quote in this article? And everybody in the Zoom call raised their hand. So we'll go through the press release and try to give you the greatest hits here. But I'm also going to try and keep track as to how many different folks are quoted in this article. So here's the rundown. Today's announcement follows the recent expansion of Utah's Team 13. They're coming in next year. Newly added duo, the NWSL now includes 14 member clubs, nearly doubling the league's footprint since beginning operations in 2012. So Jessica Berman, quote number 1. Number of bids and the increase in the league's expansion fees are indicative of both demands that exist for women's soccer in the professional sports landscape and the validated growth trajectory of the league. Said at the start of the expansion process, and I'm not going to read every word because, like I said, this is a 5-paragraph essay on steroids. Okay, so Jessica Berman, person number 1. Said at the start of the expansion process in July 22, we would be intentional in seeking out strong markets and ownership groups that not only had the structural integrity for our league to thrive, but also demonstrated a genuine commitment to investing in and creating first-rate organizations on and off the pitch. I'm confident that this ownership group and market will help us deliver on the league's continued transformative growth and success. Look forward to watching the Bay Area club kick off in 24. Okay, here's your background on 6th Street. Leading global investment firm, deep experience in sports, including investments with Real Madrid, Barca, and the Spurs. Also partnered with the Yankees and the Cowboys through their majority investment in Legends, a global sports and live venue experience business. 6th Street is making the largest institutional investment in women's professional soccer to date as the NWSL experiences record-breaking viewership, attendance, and sponsorship growth. Remember that the franchise fee was talked about in the neighborhood of $50 million. 6th Street mentioned the PR release mentions the partnership with 6th Street and the 4 Legends, who originally launched the effort to bring an NWSL expansion team to the Bay Area with the support of women executives, community leaders, as the club's founding football 4. So that's what we're supposed to refer to them as. Represented on the club's majority women board, working alongside 6th Street in setting the team's strategic direction. Quote from Alan Waxman at 6th Street. 6th Street's obviously very happy. Quote from Allie Wagner. Allie Wagner, very happy. Waxman will serve on NWSL's Board of Governors. Wagner will serve as alternative governor. Waxman and Wagner will co-chair the club's board. Quote from Leslie Osborne. Leslie Osborne is very happy. Quote from Danielle Slayton. Danielle Slayton, very happy. Quote from Brandy Chastain. She's happy too. We're now at 6. Sheryl Sandberg, founder of leanin.org, is joining the club as a board member and strategic investor with her husband, Tom Bernthal. Given the powerful connection, once again, this is the release. Given the powerful connection between women's sports and leadership, Sheryl and Tom will partner with the club to create leadership programs that empower women and girls and provide resources to sports and youth programs in underserved communities throughout the Bay Area. Sheryl Sandberg is very happy. We're now at 7. Rick Welts most recently served as president and COO of the Golden State Warriors, along with Val Ackerman, named Marketer of the Year in 1998 for launching the WNBA, inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 2018. Welts is happy about joining all here. Board will also include Stacy Slaughter, former executive VP and senior advisor to the San Francisco Giants. Bay Area Investor Group has committed to significant infrastructure investments to support club growth and operations, including building a state-of-the-art training venue in a to-be-announced location. Club is also in the process of hiring front office positions. NWSL remains engaged in the expansion process, eye towards adding teams 15 and 16. Inner Circle Sports continues to represent and advise the league on expansion matters. 11th year was open March 25th, continued their recent success, breaking opening attendance day records for a single match at Snapdragon, league-wide attendance record over the course of the opening weekend, and contacts to continue the conversation. So, the end of the day, we had a 5-paragraph essay on steroids that went 8 quotes deep to discuss how happy everyone was about bringing franchise 14 to the fore in the Bay Area. Burned. Did you see the ratings for the women's college basketball over the weekend? Yeah, $6 million for the semis, $9 million for the final. It is a smart investment. It is something that, and Bart, we have talked about not just soccer, but women's soccer as an investment, as a growth opportunity. And you yourself, as the proponent and flag bearer and constant reminder of being able to have us find places to watch the Women's Champions League and watching how places are packed, how it's just crazy crowds in Europe, and constantly reminding us to go and watch these matches, free on YouTube, whatever, what have you. It shows to those of us here on this show and on this network, and it's, once again, a part of our overarching conversation, that we get to talk about soccer and women's soccer as a growth market. If you're looking to invest, yeah, Michael, it definitely was. When you get into businesses and investments, and obviously a lot of us, don't have the same kind of money that, those folks do. But when you see a growth curve, and when you see a company or a section of the sports landscape that is a growth market, to me, it is soccer and it is women's soccer. Absolutely. Soccer and women's soccer, for me, those are your two. And for anyone that wants to create an investment, like we're seeing in Northern California, in the Bay Area, like we're seeing with San Diego and the Wave, when you've got 30,000 folks showing up at Snapdragon, when you've got Angel City and what you're seeing at BMO, with Michelle Kang and her wanting to invest and continuing to grow things in Washington, with this new arc of owners that we're seeing in the NWSL that are serious about it on multiple fronts, in front and behind the camera, presentation, talent, all these kinds of things. To me, it is a no-brainer to have soccer and women's soccer as your growth companies, your growth investments. You're looking for that kind of a thing. For me, it's an absolute no-brainer. And we talked about it forever. Anybody that wants to jump in on the professional level, you want to make an investment and you want to make a legacy investment on and off the pitch, then it's soccer and women's soccer. At least it is for a lot of us who've had these conversations and for those of us who've had these conversations here. Yeah, I mean, Commando, they have. And, the conversation that you're having with Byrne, keep seeing, posts from Men in Blazers about how women's UCL matches are breaking attendance records. They are crazy when it comes to going to see these women's Champions League matches. Byrne playing all the knockout games in the big stadia, breaking records everywhere. Ropes with a public service announcement. We'll get to that in a bit. Coco. So with Bay Area coming in next year, what's the next market the NWSL should target? We know Atlanta would be a great market, but that is an untouched footprint for the league. But is that an untouched footprint for the league or just a great opportunity for a team? I think that, and Arthur Blank has said this. He has volunteered this information anytime he's asked that, that women's soccer, that he wants to have women's soccer in this market. But I think that you have to, as a businessman, I think that you have to look at what we sadly talked about a lot last year where the NWSL is concerned and have some stability in the league first and foremost. I think that the second that A&B Sports and Entertainment feels like the NWSL is stable enough to have any kind of involvement from this market or from this particular part of the country, that A&B Sports and Entertainment will jump in. They will sit there and go, okay, what's the rights fee? Okay, hang on just a second. Hit 2 or 3 buttons. Ding, 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 ding. All right, there's your Venmo. We're done. That's what I think you're getting at, and I think that's what you're going to eventually get to when it comes to AMBSC. But you've got to find some stability considering what we talked about, for the most part, sadly, in 2022. Morning, Knicks. And there are markets that would be more than happy to jump in. Boston, I think, was looking to jump back in. The biggest issue for me is stability, because there have been times, sadly, where, in the original incarnation of professional women's soccer here, you had the team play out at Gillette, and Gillette was pretty empty. It was a very competitive market, a very competitive team, but trying to find, a place to play where you would feel comfortable with attendance figures and you would feel comfortable with what you were trying to accomplish in the market. You had the Boston Breakers in the original WUSA, played at Nickerson Field on the campus of Boston University. And they were there the entire time. And then you got, when the WPS came online, you had the same thing. And you had, in 2003, the Breakers lost in the semifinals. But then you had, I'm trying to see the WPS soccer. All right, so let me see if I'm trying to, women's professional soccer, 2007 to 2012. You had the Breakers again, and they played at Harvard. Founded in 2008, joined in 2009, left in 2012. And then they joined the WPSL East, the Elite. They joined the WPSL Elite in 2012. So trying to find a venue for teams in this league, especially in the Boston market, that is going to be a major issue. Where are you going to play? It's Do you play, do you play at Harvard? Do you play, do you play at Gillette? Do you make that run? Do you make that run? That's the biggest thing. Going back to the Wall Street Journal report, 2 teams in 2024, we know who those are, it's Utah and Bay Area. Boston is being looked at as that expansion site. San Francisco and the Boston groups have agreed to pay $50 million. Obviously, Utah, because they were grandfathered in, they're going to pay somewhere between 2 and 5. Welcome back to the Royals. So you're looking at where? According to the league, Jessica Berman, the commissioner, during the championship final in Washington, D.C., said that there were 82 interested groups. 82. Expected 5 to 10 official bids. And so you've got the 2 and 24, Boston market integrated at a later time. But now you've got to figure out, okay, so if Boston is in, that gets you to 15. If they're going to lock themselves in. Then do you worry about geographic iniquity? So here's where we are. Portland in the west, San Diego in the west, Washington in the east. Houston can go either way. OL Reign, Gotham, so you're at 3 and 3. LA and North Carolina 4 and 4. Louisville and Chicago, Kansas City, Orlando. Now you're kind of east heavy here. So, you're getting to that point to where you might have to do divisions, but you want to get to 16 to go 4x4. Kansas City, Orlando. So if you take your Midwestern teams and put them in the West. So Portland, San Diego, Washington, Houston goes someplace. Reign goes to the West, so you're at 3 out West. You put Houston in the East, let's say. You're 3 and 2. Gotham is 3 and 3. LA, North Carolina, 4 and 4. Orlando, 5. Kansas City, Chicago, 6. Then you're getting into like 6 and 7. Racing Louisville. You're getting to that point at 14. You're trying to figure out who's going to go where and what do you do with your Midwest teams if you're going to cut things in half. North-South, Commando might not be a bad way to try to do something here. But, and Commando, also to your point, in full disclosure, when I went to Q2 to see the grand opening where they had the U.S. women's national team honoring Carly Lloyd playing Nigeria, first off, I still think it was too small a venue. Still do. But there was a group there. And let me see if they're active. Because there was a group that wanted NWN. Here it is. NWSL, the number 2, Austin.org. So there is that groundswell that exists. NWSL2Austin.org. NWSL2Austin.org. So they do exist, Commando, as an entity. Then, frankly, you might have to go north-south. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Because if you're having problems with all these Midwestern teams trying to figure out where they're going, with that Midwestern footprint, maybe north-south is probably the easiest compensation. Austin, definitely, you could get something there at Q2. Burned, not a clear and obvious solution to having a stadium for NWSL. I think that if it's AMBSE, I think you're playing at Mercedes-Benz. I think you are. Like I said, that's my own personal opinion, that if you are tied to Atlanta United and you think that you are getting into, seriously, if you're thinking about getting into Snapdragon territory and San Diego territory, then it's lower bowl Mercedes-Benz. I think that once again, you're selling yourself too short. And I mean, Arthur Blank, I think you might have maybe some, you might have some things that would lean toward maybe training camps and things because once again, you're also looking at the infrastructure that has to be looked at with an NWSL team. You're going to want them at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, but you're going to have to expand it. And I believe the team has invested in some adjacent real estate there at the training ground so they can build it out and have more and more things, and you can have separate training facilities and separate, housing facilities and what have you for an NWSL franchise. So that has been thought out, but I think legitimately would end up, you'd have to do it at Mercedes-Benz. Once again, as part of the growth of the NWSL, I mean, like I said, seriously, look at what's going on in Angel City. Look at what's going on with San Diego Wave. And I think that what you have to do is treat it 30,000 serious. And to do that, then that means it's Mercedes-Benz. I would love for there to be weekends where you got maybe a day-night doubleheader, maybe a Saturday-Sunday, where if the Apple TV deal has Atlanta United locked in on Saturday, then you bring the Phoenix in and play on Sunday. So that building continues to get that kind of momentum and access and all these kinds of things. I think it has to be Mercedes-Benz. If you're doing something tied to Atlanta United, if you're seeing the numbers that are currently being posted, especially out west in the NWSL when it comes to attendance figures, it's got to be Mercedes-Benz. Like I said, maybe training camp stuff or exhibition stuff, you do some stuff at the Fraction. But I think that it has to be Mercedes-Benz. It's got to be lower bowl Mercedes-Benz. Maybe for the first match ever, you open up the whole building and try to set an attendance record for the NWSL. Blow the whole roof off of the thing, figuratively and literally, to try to do something like that. But I think NWSL, it has to be Mercedes-Benz. Has to be. You're in control of the asset. And I know that some of you were discussing Bobby Dodd. Oh, get that bot. Chase after that bot. So what you're hearing, Coco, Nola needs to join the NWSL to balance the geography. Where would they play? That's my question. I know that when we've had discussions in the past with the folks that want to bring USL Championship there, they're trying to figure out a venue. And is it retooling Zephyr Stadium? But once again, you're getting to the point to where you might be selling yourself too short. You might be selling yourself too short when it comes to attendance figures. Do you take the plunge and see if, well, it might be Tulane. It might be Tulane Stadium, at least to start, but I don't know how wide it is. That's the question for me. You start at Tulane, figure out if it's wide enough. That would be my first thought for New Orleans. I'd love to see it. But yeah, Commando, I think that would NWSL go north of the border? With the thought right now of the women's league that Christine Sinclair wants to start in Canada, my first impulse is no. But, and I don't know if you're stepping on any toes when you say this or want to do it. Like I said, this is Tuesday Thoughts, and this is what we do. We're kind of hashing the world's problems out and figuring out how to fix things. This is how we fixed MLS All-Star Game. Workshopping this whole thing. Christine Sinclair mentioned publicly about having a professional Canadian women's soccer league and basically shocked the hell out of everybody in Canada of the fact that she was going to do it. All right, let me get the parameters of what she wanted to do. But, and she brought sponsors to the table and everything. And when she came to the floor and had all of this, everybody was stunned because, I mean, she's bringing in big name sponsors, all this kind of stuff. And it's set for 2025. Project 8. First two teams, Vancouver Whitecaps, Calgary Foothills. Diana Matheson, Thomas Gilbert, Christine Sinclair as an advisor and a brand ambassador. So if Project 8 is off and running, Project 8, number 8.ca, they're looking at 2025. And you brought in all of these sponsors. I think Bell was attached to the whole thing from the absolute beginning. So if, and I'm not saying that I am encouraging any kind of failure at all, but if Project 8 has a slow build and they're not going to make 8 by 2025, does Jessica Berman, and I pose this as a question, to grow the game in North America, much like Major League Soccer, does the NWSL give that olive branch to Vancouver and Calgary, since they're the first two on board? That's why I'm using those names. To Vancouver and Calgary, join and go commando, as you said, if we did north-south as opposed to the one division. So right now we're at 14. Utah and Bay Area coming in. Boston would be 15. Do you go looking for 16? Is it Vancouver and Calgary to get you to 17? Then you end up with an 18th team somewhere, if it's Toronto or if it's here in the States, something like that. Does that spur your growth that much more, especially with the World Cup coming in 26 and the desire for that same group of folks to do a Women's World Cup in 27? Do you do this kind of, ride share if Project 8 isn't, if it isn't gaining any traction? Do you show that olive branch? That's an interesting question here. But would Calgary and Vancouver have the wherewithal to pay the rights fee to jump in, would be my next question. Would they have that $50 million US to dive in? Or would it be some kind of a, partnership or something like that? We need to get Jen Hildreth on the show. We definitely need to get Jen Hildreth on the show to discuss this. Burned, the fraction doesn't work either. Tried it with the beat. 2's attendance. It has to be downtown. Coco, GSU or the Benz. Playing at Bobby Dobb isn't cost effective. Silverbacks Park is too small. And if you're looking for modern amenities, Sam, you've got to go downtown. You want to have modern amenities. You want it to be a showcase. And once again, Arthur is in charge of a building. He has a building that needs stuff in it. So when that time is right and he feels comfortable, then Atlanta would be joining the league. Whenever that time frame is, don't know. But he's volunteered it. He's talked about it on the air. He's talked about it with Mike and Jason. Wants women's soccer here. But I think that everything has to be in line strategically and formationally in a business sense for the NWSL, for Arthur Blank to want to be a part of it and send the expansion fee over very, very quickly. Coco, same conversations being had with the English women's clubs on whether they let women use the big stadia, whether it's cost effective. And that's the question. And I know that there are some teams that play in, for lack of a better phrase, community grounds. And that's, that's the supply and the demand of that particular team in that particular marketplace, sadly. I'd love for all of these women's teams to be playing in the venues that we associate with the first division clubs or the second division clubs on the men's side. I'd love for them to be all there. But you have to have the support, you have to have the infrastructure, and you have to have the financials. I mean, Liverpool is the example for me. Liverpool financially, they will invest in their men's team like nobody's business. But when it comes to the women's team, it's just a sad afterthought, and it should not be that way. You're one of the great brands on this planet, and Fenway Sports Group should be investing far more into the women's team in Liverpool. If you wanted to be considered to be serious about women's soccer, I think that Fenway Sports Group should be investing more on that side. But that's just me. Biggest thing about doing it at Bobby Dodd, first and foremost, is that you're paying somebody else. I mean, Sam, you would be paying Georgia Tech. Like I said, you've got a building just down the street that you're in charge of, that you can sit there and turn the lights on, turn the lights off whenever you want. You're the guy in charge of the light switch and everything. It's got to be at Mercedes-Benz. As much as I'd love for it to be at Herndon, maybe you turn Herndon into the practice facility, or at least a local practice facility. But I think that everything's got to be practice-wise. It's got to be Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. You build that up. You continue to do that. You give equal footing, pardon the pun, to the women's team. Let them have their own space, their own training, do things at their own speed. Everything's cool. Do that. Don't worry about, everybody else. If you've got a building, if you want to host a party, you're going to want to do it in your own house, aren't you? I mean, it's that rare opportunity where you sit there and it's like, oh, crap, there's going to be more people here than I thought. I need to go to my neighbor's place, or I need to go to a friend's place. I think the only time that you would want to have a party at somebody else's place is like if you're getting married or something, and you want to be a good host, and you're hosting you're hosting the married couple, and they're coming in, and they're not living under the same roof, but you want to be nice, you want to be that good friend, and you want to host the wedding party, or like the reception or the pre-wedding reception party for everybody who comes into town. You want to host that at your house. You want to be a cool friend and help out the married couple. But for Arthur Blank, he's already got everything squared away. He's got the venue, he's got the band, he's got the catering, he's got it all figured out. You want it to be in your own building. If you've got catering, you've got the band, you've got staffing, you've got everything going on with the wedding party. You want it to be in your place. You don't want to have to pay something extra to sit there and go, I'd like to add this to the party for the happy couple. I want to have space for a band. And then have that venue sit there and go, well, we don't have space for a band. And then you have to pay to make space. And then you have to block out seats, block out space. And you're in the dance floor space gets affected somehow because you have to make sure that the band has a certain amount of space if the venue doesn't have a stage. All these things that are counterproductive. You got the venue. You can put the band wherever you want. You can make whatever you think you want for the couple. You can have the appetizers. You can sit there and experiment because the kitchen's all yours. It's got to be Mercedes-Benz. Absolutely got to be Mercedes-Benz. But, and I think, Michael, at least to me anyway, I think that it is just the stabilization of the NWSL. That might be it, think about, like I said, think about what we've been talking about for the last 2 years where the NWSL is concerned. Too many things for a league that wants to consider itself seriously as a player in the world game and professional women's soccer. Just let it get settled. You're purging the coaches. You're bringing in owners with meaning. You're getting the attendance figures and things like that. I think that it is just the league stabilization. Legitimately, I think that the moment that AMBSE feels that they want to jump in, they'll jump in. But they want it to be correct, and they want it to be right on a bunch of different levels. And only when they feel comfortable will that happen. Back to New Orleans, Coco says, NWSL and the championship would need to be the same ownership group for NOLA. Ullman is tight when it comes to soccer. Okay. So maybe it is the Superdome, I guess. It's the only thing I can think of. Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah. Well, Sam, you'd have to. Yeah, Arthur does have plenty of cash, but legitimately, Sam, A and B, I don't know if the guy that owns Silverbacks Park would want to sell. Coco, Ullman could do soccer, but the benches might have to be in the first row of the stands. Yeah, see, you can't do that. You got to have your own space. Look at Chelsea's women's club. Bernd, help me out here. Chelsea women's soccer venue. I'm trying to type quickly. All right, Chelsea. Yeah, Kings Meadow. They do play at Kings Meadow. Competes in the Super League, founding member of the Super League 2010, formed in 92. 05 to 10, played in the FA Premier League National Division. Women's Super League 2011 to the present. Stadium play at Kings Meadow in Norbiton, Kingston upon Thames, London. Purchased Kings Meadow for the women from the former occupant AFC Wimbledon. I should remember this considering that I'm a part of the Dons Trust. But when you say Norbiton, Kingston upon Thames, London. Yeah. AFC Wimbledon sold the Cherry Red Records ground so they could go back to Plough Lane. And Kings Meadow, as they refer to it, Cherry Red Records Stadium, capacity of 4,850 people. Between 2012 and 2017, Chelsea played their home games at Wheatsheaf Park, capacity of 3,002. 2011-2012, played at the home ground of Tooting and Mitcham United. I just like saying Tooting. Attendance, current home attendance for a Chelsea women's match is 38,350, set during the Women's Super League season match against Spurs at Stamford Bridge. Current home attendance record at Kings Meadow is 4,670, set back in 2019 Champions League semifinal against Lyon. So, all right, so Women's Super League. Let's see if we can. So the Barclay Women's Super League has 12 teams in it. Venues. All right, so here's your venues just on the women's side for the Women's Super League. 12 clubs competing in 22-23 season. Arsenal plays at Boreham Wood. Capacity 4,500. Aston Villa plays at Bescott, which is in Walsall for 11,000 folks. Brighton and Hove Albion play in Crawley at Broadfield, 6,000 plus. Chelsea, Kings Meadow, 4,850. Everton plays at Walton Hall Park, capacity 2,200. That's a crime. Leicester plays at the King Power, which you should, capacity 32,000 plus. Liverpool plays at Prenton Park in Birkenhead for 16,500. That's okay. Manchester City plays at the Academy Stadium, 7,000. Manchester United plays at the Lee Sports Village in Lee for 12. Reading plays at the Majeski for 24. Spurs plays in Leighton at Brisbane Road for 9,000 plus. West Ham United play at Dagenham, play at the Victoria Road for 6,000 plus. So of the 12 teams in the Women's Super League in England, 5 of them play in venues that are 10,000 or more. And you have one of the teams, Everton, playing in a stadium that has a capacity of 2,200 people. That's the Women's Super League, presented by the Bank of Choice that has presented a lot of material in that particular league for quite some time. Investment and expansion of Silverbacks Park. I don't know where you could expand it, Tom. I don't know in what direction. I remember when it was the second drive-in theater on 85 North. And this was back in like the late 1840s. I don't know what direction you could go. And I don't know because you've got access problems. I mean, if you were to add a second level on both sides, and permanent stands in the end zones, you might be able to double Silverbacks Park. So let's see right now what the official attendance is, or the capacity for venues. Capacity of 5,000 at the main field. You could get it up to 8, but then you really are cramming everything into a very small amount of space. You would probably have to buy the office park right next to the freeway. For those that aren't familiar, Silverbacks Park, where the NASL team used to play, is jammed into a space at the intersection of two major interstates. And there is an exit that takes you to the park. And then there are times where there have been Open Cup matches there in the past where people have parked in the subdivisions. They've parked in the office park, and they've walked around the creek to go out to the main road, then work their way back in and come down walking through. So there is little space to move more than anything else. If you, like I said, if you were to expand it, and if you were to get the owner to sell, which I don't think he would, because he makes far too much money in his own mind with the pickup leagues and things like that on a daily basis. If that man were to sell, then you would have to invest in infrastructure. You would have to double the size of the building to get it to 10. Then you'd have to figure out where folks are going to park. It's bad enough right now with a capacity of 5. Think about what you'd have to do for a capacity of 10. You'd probably have to knock out the business park right there at the interstate and just create parking. That just turns into a parking lot. You'd have to find access to go over the creek from that parking lot or from that business center to get folks to the stadium. To me, once again, that sounds like a big headache to try to get something done when you've got a building downtown that already seats 43,000 in a lower bowl scenario, and it's yours. Like I said, if you wanted to do anything involving training, you create a pathway to West Atlanta, which is what Arthur Blank has always enjoyed doing as a part of the regrowth of the West End. Walkway, because right now with the Gulch, those of you that go to games, the home games, the Gulch is a part of over there toward the Atlanta University Center. If you created another walkway toward Morris Brown University and had Herndon Stadium renovated as your training facility or something local where you did local events and things. Capacity at Herndon, I want to say, was 12,500. Let me look that up real quick. But you'd have to do, once again, the renovations there. I like how we're solving today's problems. I like this. 15,011 is capacity at Herndon Stadium at Morris Brown College. So it seats 15. That could work, but once again, you'd have to renovate. And yes, Coco, Stanford Bridge. But just if you just did the lower bowl, I mean, for stadia in that league, if you're not playing in your venue, cut the venue in half. You should still be playing in that venue. I mean, legitimately, you should be in that venue. Like I said, this is just me talking. But for me, like I said, this is for me. Me, and I'm being completely selfish here. Arsenal should be playing in the lower half of the Emirates. And when you should have the ability to sell the upper bowl. Villa should be playing at Villa Park. Brighton should be playing at the Amex. Chelsea should be playing Stamford Bridge. Everton, once again, you'd be getting more revenue in that building, and God knows, Tom, you need it. You play at Goodison. Leicester City plays at King Power. Liverpool, you should be playing in the lower bowl at Anfield. Could you imagine the cop for those games? Lower bowl and the cop. City plays at Academy Stadium. I still think you should be at the Etihad lower bowl. You should be at the lower bowl at Old Trafford for Manchester United. Reading plays at the Majeski. Spurs Stadium. Once again, it gets people in the building that needs revenue. And West Ham should be playing at Olympic Stadium. That's just me. You should be playing in those venues. Lower bowl it. Like I said, lower bowl it. You're already there. And, Ricky, you're right. If you do anything at Herndon, it's going to be in collaboration with Morris Brown. Absolutely you should. And that's the thing. I mean, could you imagine? Think about it. What you're seeing right now in the NWSL. And like I said, the more that we're doing this show, the more I need to bring in Jen Hilders to talk about this. You've got opportunity here. You get to a 16-team league, that gets you to 18, maybe 20. Then you figure out what your sweet spot is. And there are markets that would love to do this kind of stuff. I'd love to see it in Austin at Q2. I really would. I think the place would go nuts for it. What I want is stable leagues. What I want is stable ownership. What I want is stable coaching. What I want is respect for players. And like I said, I think that the second AMBSE feels that everything is comfortable and they're cool with it, they're cutting a check. Literally, I think it's going to be Venmo, just bang. Commissioner Berman, what are you looking for? Okay, hold on just a second. What's your Venmo number? You hear him punching. You hear him punching the keypad. And then all of a sudden you hear cha-ching, done. Right, Michael, yeah. You get stabilization. Other owners keep jumping in. But like I said, the second you're not going to turn down an owner in Major League Soccer who wants to coordinate and he wants to have a equal footing with women's soccer, with the Women's Soccer League. I would be incredibly confident in that moment where AMBSE sits there and it's like, okay, we think the league's cool. Literally, dialed up, bang, go. We're ready. We're jumping in. I mean, think about the teams that have jumped the queue in Major League Soccer. Think about all the expansion recently and folks have jumped the line. Sacramento, everybody was like, yeah, Sacramento. And then you get teams jumping the line. When you're ready, you're ready. When you're ready in a growth industry, that growth industry should not be in a position to want to turn you down. Sam, how do you schedule United Falcons and NWSL team and all the other events and concerts that happen in MBS? You find a way. I mean, legitimately, Sam, it could be day-night doubleheaders, and I think that'd be awesome. I mean, could you imagine with the season going on right now and the way that things are structured, it's perfect. If you think about it from a soccer sense, what Major League Soccer and Apple TV have done is open a window for an NWSL franchise to play on a Sunday. Now let's take a peek at the schedule for the NWSL. I wish I knew days of the week. I really do. Okay, so you have this past weekend, you have action on April 1st, which was a Saturday, which I understand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches on Saturday. Then you had the one on Sunday. Right now they're in a break. And so they'll come back 14, 15, 22. So it looks like for the most part, 15, 22. So they're playing mostly Saturdays, but they're not afraid to play on Sundays. They've got some Sunday games on Paramount Plus. As a matter of fact, they've got Paramount Plus as a doubleheader on Sunday the 23rd. On the 15th, they've got 5 games going on and a match on the 14th. So you could have You could have right now, the way that things are currently structured, Sam, you could have, and I know Friday night football I'm not necessarily a fan of, but the way that things are structured, at least right now during soccer season, MBS would be a no-brainer. You could do a day-night doubleheader, which I think would be great. And don't tell me 17s that you guys wouldn't be partying all day long. Rightfully so. I mean, think about it. Think about it. Think about a day-night doubleheader at MBS where you had a part of, say, Saturday. All right, so let's take a look at the Saturday start times. Saturday start times are all night games. Okay. At least in the month of April. April 22. All right, so you've got a 3:30 at Lumen Field on April the 22nd. Who is to say in a 5 and an 8, the doubleheader on Paramount Plus on Sunday the 23rd, who is to say that you couldn't schedule, and on May the 6th, you've got an afternoon game on Big CBS, that you couldn't schedule a day-night doubleheader for Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and all you'd have to do, literally all you'd have to do is, I mean, think about it, 17s. If, say, at 1 o'clock on Paramount Plus, just as an idea to kick things off, first match ever in the history of Atlanta Phoenix. And, Ricky, this is the other question. I think you want to do something other than Atlanta United Women. That's why I say like Phoenix or something like that. You had the NWSL team kick off at 1 o'clock. 17s, you would hit the Gulch at 9 o'clock in the morning. You'd have breakfast tailgate. And I'd love to see what you guys would make for breakfast tailgate. I would love to see it. Then you go breakfast tailgate. You run it. You got your game. The 17s have already put in your TIFOs. I mean, it would be a bit of a sneak preview for the TIFOs and the supporters for the night side, because you'd see the banners that are already up, but that you wouldn't expose the TIFO unless you wanted to do 2 TIFO that day. But don't tell me for a second that you guys wouldn't enjoy breakfast tailgate for a 1 o'clock kick in the NWSL for Atlanta Phoenix. Then match is over at 3. You go back out to the Gulch. You continue to party, having carbohydrates and hydrating to make sure that you're okay for the night game. Then you go back in for your 7:39 kick for Atlanta United. Don't tell me you guys wouldn't dig that. I think you guys would enjoy the ever-loving daylights out of a day-night doubleheader on those instances where Atlanta United and the Phoenix would want to do something like that. Or, because of all of the games on Saturday, Atlanta United on Saturday night, the Phoenix on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night. I know it adds to another trip heading downtown. But the venue's there, the weekend is there, and it's there at your disposal. So Sundays, Saturday afternoons, and you've got weeks when Atlanta United isn't home. You know, you juggle your away weeks with Atlanta United. The Phoenix play when United are away, and vice versa. But day-night doubleheaders, that would be awesome. Day-night doubleheaders would be absolutely epic. In a market that we all know would embrace the NWSL the moment it would happen, to do these kinds of things. Morning, Abby. We kind of got fired up about NWSL expansion this morning and what it could mean to Atlanta. So Michael Head with the math. 10 or less Falcons games, 20 or so for Atlanta United. Plenty of room for the NWSL. Abby, still think they should purchase this. Yeah, Herndon, right? Morning 4-card, happy 404. But that's what you're staring at. It's just 404, that's all. Knicks would want to tear down and rebuild in that spot. But once again, the biggest thing about that park is access. A, right now it's too small. B, the money you'd have to take to build. And C, thinking about a 10,000-seat stadium that you would have invested all this money in, and it's hard for people to get to. I still think it's got to be MBS. I still think that if you want to have a training facility downtown, you renovate Herndon, you gift it to Morris Brown, you get to use it whenever you want. But I still think your training facility has to be Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground, and you build out with what you've done with Atlanta United. Once again, equal treatment for the Phoenix in the same real estate space. That's what you're looking at for me. At least, like I said, that's my perspective on this. Training ground is your training ground. You just build more stuff. Real estate is there. You play at Mercedes-Benz. As Michael has done the math, there's plenty of room to sit there and juggle one way or the other who plays. But frankly, the day-night doubleheader, oh my goodness. The day-night doubleheader would be absolutely awesome. Think they should. Abby says, think they should take the land where the IKEA is supposed to go. Probably not going to happen down the street from the training ground. It's just wherever that space is available. Trust me, they'll find the space. They'll make the space. And if I think I know what you're talking about, the area, like you turn right and you're heading down Franklin, you got the park on the left-hand side, and then there's that empty space that used to be the strip mall over there on the right. That's just the flatland right now there. I mean, like I said, it's a shuttle. It's, it created a separate space, but I think you all want it under the same roof. And I think that if you've been to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta facility, there's more real estate back and toward the freeway that they've invested in. So I think they've optioned that land or something. So it would be back there, but you want everybody inside the same fencing. Yeah, Ricky, I think Rugby ATL does play at Silverbacks Park. But yeah, Michael, absolutely. Lower bowl. You can have 42,000 there if you want. You're done. Absolutely done. Abby, the hard part of MBS is really hard when the Falcon season starts. But once again, Friday night football, Saturday. I mean, it's we see it with Atlanta United, so why couldn't you do it for the Phoenix? Just sit there, and it's like once the match is over, maybe you have the match a little earlier. Maybe you're the 5:30. Maybe you're the 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon as a part of the TV window for Paramount Plus. So do stuff like that. Yeah, Michael, Falcons play on Sunday, MLS and WSL. We've seen, after matches, you see him do all the scrubbing in the overnight to get it ready for a Falcons game. So, I mean, it physically is there. And yeah, Fridays, even the logistics, other options are limited, but I mean, it will happen. I'm confident it will happen. I don't know the timetable, but whenever when everything is hermetically sealed and the stars are in line, it should be done pretty quickly. No, yeah, and you're right, 4-card. Herndon does need a lot of money and investment because it's not just the stadium. Abby, yes, KSU's free parking close to the training ground. And you've got all of the stuff with Kennesaw. I mean, Kennesaw on match days, I'm leaving because I've got to be there 4 hours ahead of time. You never know how long it's going to take, especially when you have like 3-car accidents on it. When fancy computer directions lady tells you that you go down and you go up, you go down 85, up 75, and then when you get to 75 and 285, there's a wreck that knocks out like 3 or 4 lanes of traffic. Having those kinds of things. Yeah, I mean, transportation and rental fees, Ropes, you're right. And we will get to that Olive and York kit because you know me and Olive and York. Olive and York has turned into like my second outfitter. Other than our store for the SDH stuff, then and go to soccerdownhere.net, click the link, and you can get your own SDH gear, including your Action at the Fraction T-shirts, by the way. I'm just like, phew. I got to leave early. Michael, sure, the Premier League teams have given this lots of thoughts. It has to make economic sense. These are smart people. Got to sell tickets. True. But I think that if you don't have the faith in your product or invest in your product, then, no one's going to want to watch you. If you don't invest in your product, then no one's going to come to your door. And then I think that, and it's the whole chicken and egg argument, I know. But if you have a product and you don't invest in your product, no one's going to want to come and see your product. No one's going to want to buy your product. If you invest in your product and you create something that's worth going to go see, then people will come. Therefore, you will need a larger venue. Therefore, you need to go and play where we've been discussing and not just a 2,200-seat facility like we have one of the teams playing currently in the Super League. Sam, any update on the United sale? Biggest thing for the United sale right now is the fear that the Glazers are doing this just to sit there and drive up the value of the club and that they won't sell. Both the Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Sheikh bid, they've submitted secondary bids. They've been around 2. But there is a fear that the Glazers are just doing this so they can drive up the value of the franchise so they can take out more loans and not sell. The Sheikh has already said, if it's all or nothing for me. All or nothing. And if you want a partnership, I'm not interested. I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe is there kind of the same way. So, but like I said, Four-Card, just do it for lower bowl. Come up with, we did tarps during COVID. Get the tarps out of mothballs, put them in the upper deck. Make the building look like it's make the building look like it's lived in and that it's a fortress. How big is the old Turner Field? Thank you, Abby. 24,333. Could you play at? Yeah, you could. You could for college football, and that's the thing. It's like the biggest thing, and Abby's on it. College football is Saturdays, and because of the 4-letter and because of the conference that you are in, you would be trying to schedule something in and around that. So is it a 1? Is it a 7? You'd probably be playing at Petty Field on Sundays for the most part. I still think it's got to be MBS. Because once again, you look at what you're seeing across the league. San Diego's putting in 30,000 at Snapdragon. You want those visuals. You want that revenue, but you want those visuals too. You don't want to undersell yourself. If you want to come across as someone who is going to invest in players, invest in infrastructure, invest in the NWSL, you're going to want to be in a venue that shows you are the big time. That is MBS. Like I said, you can do the infrastructure investing in Herndon, bequeath it to Morris Brown as a part of their collegiate experience, and have it as like a training facility. If you want to train downtown, you could do that. Or if you want to train inside the MBS, you could do that too. But it's got to be MBS. You can't have full buildings. You can't have a full building at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles. You can't have a full building at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego and then put yourself in Kennesaw. You've got to be at MBS. And think about what that does in turn for the league. Let's go through the venues in the NWSL right now. When you look at, and so let me go through NWSL venues, and so we can come up with the list of stadia. All right, Angel City, 22,000. Red Stars play at Bridgeview. That's also economical, but SeatGeek seats 20. The Dash play at Shell. And Shell has a capacity of 22, but what they've done is they've restricted to lower bowl and end zone, so it gives you only 7. I'm hoping that changes. Kansas City right now at Children's Mercy is 18-4, and then when they build their venue, it'll be downtown. Gotham play at RBA, 25,000. Courage play at Wake Med, which is 10. The Rain play Lower Bowl at Lumen, which is 10. Orlando Pride play at Exploria, which is 25-5. Portland play at the Nursery at Providence Park, 25-2. Lynn family is restricted to 11-7, which is disappointing. 15,304 with standing room. So, all right, so let's take it to standing room. So Lynn family, 15 with standing room. Snapdragon, 32. Standard configuration for wave games is 18,000, but they can get it to 32 for demand. You may as well just keep it open that way. And then Audi is 20. Future Stadia, for Kansas City, it's 11.5 downtown. It's soccer specific. I think it's too small. And then Utah's going to play at Rio Tinto, which is 20,200. So what you're staring at right now is 22,000, 20,000, 7,000, which could be 22,039, 18,004, 25, 10 at Wake Med, 10 at Lumen, capacity of 68,740 for football. Exploria is 25.5. Providence Park is 25.2. Lynn family is 15.3 with standing room. Snapdragon's 32. Audi is 20. Kansas City downtown at Berkeley Riverfront is 11.5, and the Riot is 20,200. So those are your capacities. What you would do, if you were Atlanta United, what you would do is set the bar. If you were AMBSC, you would set the bar. And that's what you want to do. You're coming into this league. I don't know where Bay Area is going to play. My guess is maybe they'll try to swing for Levi's or swing for Spartan or something like that. But the moment that you have the Phoenix come into the NWSL from Atlanta, you set the bar. The star is the bar, quoting a frequent guest on this show. To get the start, you've set the bar. Right in the second you walk into the league, short of what may happen in either Boston or Bay Area, you walk in the door, your lower bowl is at 42,000. And don't tell me for a second that the first match that would happen in this market for the NWSL would smash NWSL records, and it would rival burn what you see when it comes to the Women's Champions League and the La Clásica when you have Barcelona playing Real Madrid. You'd rival those numbers for a second. You set the bar the second you step into the league when you're at Mercedes-Benz. Tafka, I think of it as growing pains. And I know that Tom wanted to talk about MLS and Apple TV, and I know that that's probably something else that might be a wall pass thing, or it might be another Tuesday thing. Since we're now 6 weeks in. Simultaneous, but I still think that even if you get away from the simultaneous Eastern time kicks, the 7:39s, I still think that where the NWSL is concerned, you could still have the day-night doubleheader. You could still do an early Saturday kick. You could still do a Sunday kick. The NWSL, you would find a way to work around your start times. Trust me. Times you're away if you're Atlanta United. That's when the Phoenix drop in. Night game, day game, Sunday. Those chances are there. Those opportunities are there. I think that, yeah, and I think that that it's there. Coco, if Apple's laying claim to Saturday nights during MLS season, having NWSL on Sundays or Saturday afternoons makes sense. Just not sure how the field would hold up during all of that. They'd invest in that too. Tafka wants to budget out your start times for Apple. Like I said, if they feel like they need to spread them out, then they probably will over time. But like I said, this is the first year of a 10-year deal. You're going to have growing pains. You've got to figure things out. This is a $200 million a year investment. And Apple TV is trying to figure out what they can do with Major League Soccer to figure out about getting other property down the line. Major League Soccer is Apple TV's petri dish. And with a petri dish and with a kitchen, you're always sitting there cooking. You're always trying to figure out, okay, what dish can I make with what I've got on hand? What do I need? Those kinds of things. You're still consistently trying to figure out what you're trying to do. And I know that there are folks, and we might be evolving into this conversation, but I know folks are freaking out about Major League Soccer and Apple TV and allegedly not making metrics and only having X amount of folks join in and sign up for season pass. And if metrics aren't met, then Apple could sit there and say, we're out. You're not going to do that early in a deal. It's a rash decision. It's kind of like what Chelsea is doing with their managers. So do you want to be Bully Clear Lake or do you want to be in it for the build? I'm looking at the long term. That's the question for Apple. I don't think that you're going to have people freaking out, but you're 6 weeks into an agreement. And I know short of, unless you want to think of Apple TV as Chelsea and chasing after new coaches and managers and things like that, it's going to develop over time. There may be make goods. There might be more programming, all these kinds of things. Just be patient with it. Folks are always going to try to bring things into a conversation because alarm bells sell. Alarm bells draw eyeballs. But it might be way too premature to discuss these kinds of things because we're 6 weeks into a business relationship. 6 weeks. 6 weeks into a business relationship. That's it. And Coco, yeah, the turf might be replacing, but remember, they're going to pull it out for grass anyway come World Cup time anyway. I know, it's hard for loading in and then loading out after with the load in for the second game. Maybe you get to stay. Maybe you get to stay and party the whole time. Turn it into a big party. TIFO has to be loaded in the night before at the latest. No, you can't do two TIFOs. So then just do the TIFO for the late game and keep it down and don't show anybody what the TIFO is, and then just act normal and have a fun party in time for the NWSL game, front day of the doubleheader. Yeah, it's Terminus or something along that line. So that's why I was thinking Phoenix, because it's the symbol for the city. Four card, I would think that what they would probably do, Four Card's asking, so does everybody have to buy tickets for both games or are you kicking everyone out between? What you might have is like a season ticket package for both, and then you just give you a wristband or something. Sit there and put an infrared or an ultraviolet stamp on your wrist. Just don't rub it off. Wristband, something simple. Abby, they'd probably split shift, 2 shifts. Day shift, night shift. Tafka, fine with the day-night doubleheader. Schedule needs to be decompressed. Michael Head, generally haven't had TIFOs for every match. Yeah, and Coco worries about the staff if you do a doubleheader. Like I said, I think that I think that you'd have 2 staffs. You'd have a day staff and a night staff. You'd have them tag out. Yeah, that's it, Sam. The ability to hire 2 shifts. 4 card. Man, we got kids and other things going on. I can't commit the whole day for doubleheaders. Come on, man. It's a doubleheader. Be great. Oh, I know. It's not something you'd want to do consistently, but I think that what you would do, the first chance you have a doubleheader, you have a doubleheader. You do it a couple of times. And then you have your Sunday game. You have your Sunday games. I think the way that it would work is that it would be Saturday night when United's not in town, Sunday night or Sunday afternoon when they are, or Sunday night, and then your day-night doubleheader, which to me would be fantastic. All the discussions of folks. Yeah, Michael's not driving from Decatur to Kennesaw when you hop on MARTA to go to the Bends. Sam with a question, and I'm posting this to the floor because I don't necessarily think I know the answer. How much money do the big concerts and Monster Jam and Supercross bring into MBS? You'd potentially be losing those events if you have all three teams playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because most of those events are weekend events. Sometime, well, then, Sam, maybe you play the NWSL on the occasional midweek like they do with Major League Soccer. Play them on a Wednesday. Trust me, the NWSL schedule makers would work their way around big venues and big opportunities for folks to see big, have a lot of eyes drawn to one venue. The NWSL schedule makers would shift. Trust me. Yeah, Michael, that's the thing. Georgia State's got sewn in football lines and numbers. Yeah, so it'd be kind of difficult to look at. Commando. Now, if or when NYCFC finally gets their own stadium in New York, this is, and we have talked to Dylan Butler about Dylan Butler Estates. It is looking like it's Flushing, Queens. It is looking like it is a major 9-figure live, work, play deal. Only thing is, the venue would only seat mid-20s. It would only seat mid-20s. That's the problem in all of it. So let me get the storyline here. New NYCFC Stadium. New York Post ran the article, and we talked to Dylan Butler about it. Maybe we can get Dylan to remind us about it tomorrow. 25,000. So the New York Post, the bastion of journalistic integrity, the New York Post. In November, Eric Adams officially announced new stadium for NYCFC erected Willets Point, Queens, near Citi Field and Flushing Meadow, which is where it should have been in the first place. 100% privately financed Major League Soccer stadium, Mayor said at a press conference in Queens. NYC's first soccer-specific stadium permanent home. And this is what I meant by live, work, play. 2,500 homes. It's an affordable, in conjunction with an affordable housing project. 2,500 homes in a hotel with 250 rooms. So 25,000 for your capacity. 250 room hotel, 2,500 affordable homes in an affordable housing project. City Planning Commission chair at the time had a statement. He was happy. They had pictures. S9 Architecture had the renderings of the whole live, work, play deal. The release from NYC said the project expected to create 1,550 permanent jobs, 14,200 construction jobs, slated to cost $780 million. $780 million. Expected to open by 2027. Project is being developed by Queens Development Group, a joint venture between companies owned by the former Mets owners, the Wilpon family and Saul Katz, and Dolphins owner Stephen Ross. So they miss out at the moment. On World Cup 2026. If they get it done quicker, who gets it done? We'll find out. Tafka is good on the NWSL. Just commenting, current compression does not need to remain, even if it means making an NWSL team easier. Do I have any info on the Apple out? I do not. But, I mean, it's standard business procedure that you would have, Michael, in any kind of a business arrangement, that if you don't meet certain metrics, like I said, we're 6 weeks into a relationship. The way that I'm looking at it, let me see if we got anything here. Apple TV outs MLS TV package. Let's see if our friends at the Google machine can help us out here. I'm trying to figure out where are people getting worried. Forbes is saying that it could reduce betting. Okay. All right. So, enough people don't subscribe. So, this is from Chance Miller from about a month ago. Going to The Athletic, opt-out clause. All right. So, here's what The Athletic said at the time. Still in its infancy, specific terms of the pact have been hard to come by. Sources familiar with the arrangement, though, have suggested over the past few months that the league's agreement with Apple contains an opt-out clause that allows Apple to walk away from the agreement if the league doesn't drive a certain number of subscribers to season pass in a set time frame. Garber did not confirm or deny such a clause. When asked, he neither confirmed or denied it. He did, however, say Apple and the MLS and Major League Soccer haven't disclosed any specific terms of the deal with the public. That's not going to change. Quote, we've never talked about what the specific terms are, and we're not going to talk about it now. It's a 10-year partnership. We're both very, very committed to that. I'm wholeheartedly convinced this company and our league are going to be together for a very long time. Yeah, it's not necessarily, like I said, it's not a surprise that something like this would be written into a contract. But you would have to go through, I mean, first and foremost, for it to collapse, it would have to be an abject failure. Failure. What that word failure would devolve into is anybody's guess. But over time, it wouldn't be something where you would, unless you were just so pissed off, if you were Apple TV. This isn't working. This is horrible. We're out. You get to that point of the day, that point of the contract. First off, I don't think that would ever happen this early. Because if you're investing this much, first off, you're probably going to end up with make goods in the advertising element of it. That's not going to happen that's not going to happen in year one. Because Apple has to gauge their metrics with all of the content that they're bringing up is as a part of this deal. Because it's not just Major League Soccer. It is Leagues Cup, MLS Next Pro, all of these different things that they are throwing into this deal. And they have to look at a GA Cup is in there. All of these different things that they are throwing into this deal, they've got to look at. They've got to sit there and say, okay, what do we do here? What do we do here? What do we do here? All of these different things that they've thrown into this contract under the umbrella of Apple TV and Major League Soccer. They've got to look at each and every aspect of it and go, okay, what works? What doesn't work? What can we do? What do we not do? You're not going to do that after 6 weeks. You're going to look at it after year one. You're going to reassess. You're going to adjust. You go into year two, and you find your footing, and you work your way forward. It's not going to be any kind of a snap judgment. Tim Cook has not created the success, and Apple has not created the success that they've had in the marketplace by making snap judgments. They're smart business folks. They knew what they were getting when they picked up Major League Soccer. It is a growth industry. The key is to figure out how to grow said industry in a TV construct. How do you leverage it? How do you work it forward? That's the biggest thing. Sam, I hope you're wrong. I hope that the nickname of the club is something different than the Peaches. It's got to be Phoenix. So something like that. Yeah, not the Peaches. Make them the Thrashers. You know, a lot of you are putting in nicknames, which is fantastic. Abby, attendance for midweek games really hard for many school nights, work days. Trying to get downtown can really suck. Yes, that is true. Commando, still disappointed in Charlotte. Could have been Charlottetown. I know. It could have been Charlottetown. That would have been so awesome. Charlotte Athletic, you know, and once again, you're looking at, oh, and that's the other news where Sam discussing Lionel Messi. I think that what you're going to have with Messi, and it was disclosed in the 4-letter, by the way, that allegedly, apparently, PSG, and like I said, I know we're still flying all over the place. This is what Tuesday thoughts are. Tuesday thoughts. Now the Lionel Messi. Julian. Whoa. Julian. Calm down in my ear. That's just loud. Instant triggers by ESPN. All right, Julien Laurien, before any of us woke up this morning, had L'Equipe reporting that somebody is not a fan of what they are currently being told and sold when it comes to anything and everything involving PSG and contracts and such. So, Lionel Messi unlikely to reach an agreement with PSG to extend his stay at the club, sources told the four-letter. L'Equipe first to report the story. Negotiations between the two parties are at a standstill, casting major doubts over the World Cup winner's future in Paris. Now, here's the part where if I'm Lionel Messi, I'm like, nah, fam, I'm out. French champs want Lionel Messi to take a 25% pay cut. A 25% pay cut from his existing salary, which is with 40 million euro gross a year. I'd be like, nope. You signed me to this deal. I'm not going to renew it on a pay cut. New meeting between the club and Messi's father and agent Jorge still scheduled for later this month to find a solution. Sources have told the four-letter Messi was likely to sign a new deal before the World Cup, but the situation has changed since then. Messi failed to replicate his form. Once again, this is Laurien who's writing this. Disappointing as PSG were dumped out of the competition by Bayern Munich. Messi is not prepared to reduce his wages, was upset after his name was jeered by a section of the club's supporters in the previous two home matches. Messi's leaving all doors open for other teams to make him an offer. Father had already discussed the possibility of a Barca return. Financially, it will be difficult to achieve. Players' camp is also awaiting a proposition from Inter Miami in Major League Soccer. Open to playing in the U.S. Comes to an end, remains interest from Al Ittihad as well, because remember, he is an ambassador for Middle East. I would say, Barca, I'd love to know how Barca thinks they're going to try to pay for him. I really do. I'd love to know how that's going to happen. I don't quite see that happening, but that's just me. So, and the rules were made for Beckham. Rules can be made for Messi when it comes to Major League Soccer. So, yeah, pay cut, 25%. Nope, not happening. Not happening. Tafka, first 2 years are a treading new ground experiment. Year 3 is the first time it should be expected to be in the groove. And by then, the World Cup is here. Absolutely true. Absolutely true and correct. Sam Messi will retire a Barca player. He will not play for anyone else who went to PSG because he had to leave. Tafka conquered La Liga, made himself practically a demigod. No reason to return. Makes zero sense for him to return. He could only tarnish the statue. Yeah, Abby, definitely work out a deal like Beckham. Lower salary, cut of the gate, all those kinds of things. That definitely would be something that I think would go down. It's definitely would be something in that Beckham rule kind of a thing. That's really what I'm looking at. Conversation was fantastic this morning. All right, Open Cup. We got into that a little bit. So here's the rundown once again. Let me see if the team link has been updated to our friends at US Soccer. And the answer is no. All right, so we have 4 or 5. We have 10 matches tonight. 7 of them, I think. 6 of them right now. 7 possibly, probably, maybe. Indefinitely commando, it would be part of an ownership group thing, or they would bend the salary rules and implications and Garber bucks and all those kinds of things. Juice boxes. Yeah, that's what we were going to get into. We're going to look at juice boxes today. Juice boxes for the ones that we have. The Miami FC at 7 o'clock hosting Jacksonville Armada. The Miami FC are a minus 588. 1 Knoxville. It's going to be a fantastic night up there at Regal in this game against Stephen Glass and Memphis 901. Stephen Glass, Memphis 901 are a minus 189. 1 Knox are a plus 384. 90-minute draws a plus 3.25. 7:30 Tampa Bay and Nona. Tampa Bay's north of minus 900. Nona, by the way, is north of plus 1,800. Charleston Battery, Savannah Clovers. Charleston Battery a minus 345. Clovers are almost a plus 700. Your 90-minute draws a plus 420. 8:30 San Antonio and Club de Leon. San Antonio FC is a minus 625. Your draw is a plus 627. Club de Leon to win in 90 minutes is a plus 1139. So you've got that. A lot of individual cups and things going on, regional leagues. Early part of the afternoon, you have, you've got a lot of cup competition. You've got Middle East and North Africa qualification in the Arab Club Champions Cup at 2 o'clock, Swiss Cup. Goodness gracious almighty. National leagues available in the smaller in the divisions in England. Matches in the Premier League at 2:45. Brighton a minus 175 at the Vitality taking on Bournemouth. Leeds a minus 139 at Ellen Road against Nottingham Forest, who's north of plus 400. Leicester, first match without Brendan Rodgers in 4 years, are a plus 160. Draws a plus 238. Aston Villa is a plus 181. Also, you've got Bayern Munich and Freiburg in the DFB Pokal. Bayern Munich, obviously a big favorite, just under minus 600. You've got Scotland going on at 2:45. Premier League, 3 o'clock, Chelsea-Liverpool. Keep an eye on that one. Chelsea's a plus 125. Liverpool's a plus 229. Your draw's a plus 247. Coppa Italia's at 3. Juve's a plus 142 against Inter. Draw and Inter about the same at a plus 212. You got a lot of stuff this afternoon to get you into the Primera B. Copa Libertadores starts at 6 in the group stage. And Sudamericana tonight. Man. The strongest, and River Plate. River Plate's a plus 106 on the road. Argentinos Juniors favored at home against IDV. Argentinos Juniors is a minus 143. Independiente de Valle is a plus 446. Alianza Lima and Atletico Paranaense. Atletico Paranaense picked up Thiago Andrade from NYCFC on loan. Atletico's a plus 131 on the road at Alianza Lima. Sudamericana, Newell's favored on the road at a plus 120. Got Atletico Italiano out of Chile. You've got Goiás at home hosting Colombia de Santa Fe. Goiás is favored at home at a plus 122. That is early part of the evening. That's at 6 o'clock kicks. Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Gets you all of that action. If you don't have Fanatis, get it. Jason got me hooked, and I'm truly hooked as well. So Philadelphia Union at 8 o'clock, minus 133, hosting Atlas in leg 1. Atlas north of plus 350. 8 o'clock, Libertadores Independiente Medellin is a home dog against Internacional. Internacional's a plus 142. Your draw and Independiente Medellin are a plus 211. Sudamericana in the group stage at 8. You've got San Lorenzo, a minus 167 at Estudiantes Merida. You have LDU Quito at a plus 127 at Cesar Vallejo in Peru. Charleston, a minus 345. Savannah Clovers under plus 700. 8:30, Blooming out of Bolivia and Santos out of Brazil. Santos, a minus 208 on the road. Blooming north of plus 500. You have Club Leon, a minus 5,000, hosting Violette at 10 o'clock. Libertadores at 10. Metropolitanos is a plus 300 against Nacional out of Uruguay at a minus 106. Millonarios favored at home at a minus 118 against Defensa y Justicia, who is a plus 344. So there's plenty to keep an eye on. So how do I watch all of these games? How do you watch all these games? Let's find out. So what is on? How can you watch? Here's the rundown. BN has the triple header in Libertadores at 6, 8, and 10. The German Cup quarterfinal is Bayern Munich and Freiburg. That's on ESPN2 at 2:45. FS1 has your CONCACAF Champions League doubleheader. Premier League, here's how it divides up. Leeds, Nottingham Forest at 2:45 on USA. Being an Espanol has your simulcast of matches in Libertadores. Medellin Internacional at 8. Metropolitanos Nacional at 10. ESPN Deportes simultaneously is simulcasting German Cup. 2 to NA simulcasting CONCACAF Champions League. BR has Detroit City Gold Star and Oakland Roots and El Farolito. ESPN Plus. Copa del Rey semis. Athletic Club Osasuna at 3. English FA Youth Cup semi with Arsenal Manchester City at 2. German Cup quarters. Frankfurt Union Berlin at noon. Bayern Munich Freiburg at 2:45. Copa Italia semifinal first leg is on Paramount Plus. Peacock has your other matches in the Premier League today at 2:45 and 3. YouTube has the Open Cup second round. Miami, Jacksonville, Hartford, Lansdowne, New Mexico United, and UDA Soccer at New Mexico State at 9 o'clock. That's how you're watching all these things. So I asked what your viewing habits were and what your path was going to be. It's going to be a fun path today with everything that we're staring at. I forgot to ask what you guys thought about Harry Kane and the red card and the Abdoulaye Doucouré red. You can't do that. But Harry Kane kind of went a little bit over the top and with the hands to the face and the acting and Lucas Moura and all that kind of stuff. So you got that. Reading in the championship, and this is where if you're within earshot of Jessica Charman, you're probably you probably hear a noise. That's Jess screaming at the moment because Reading got docked 6 points because of this thing about having to pay their players. And it has now put them in danger of being relegated. That's where Reading is right now. So here's the deal with Reading. We talked about them in the past. EFL's profitability sustainability limits were breached, 1 point above the relegation zone. Deducted 6 points with immediate effect. 2 points in their last 6 matches to add to that. Sanctions relate to Reading's failure to meet an agreed-to budget after a breach of financial rules in 2021. Initial breach carried a 6-point penalty. Further 6 points suspended until this season. The club said they faced a huge fight to stay up. That's their quote. Independent club financial review panel overseeing a case for the first time in the EFL determined that Reading had not generated enough money from player sales and were relying on a proposed deal that had not been completed by a March 1st deadline to satisfy their commitments. Reading, who are owned by the Chinese businessman Dai Yong, said despite radical changes implemented at first-team level and right across the structure of the business to its very core and a rigid adherence to a strict league-monitored wage structure and transfer embargo, the club accepts that it has not sufficiently satisfied certain elements of the planned budget. In abiding by the EFL rules, the club have not spent a penny on transfer fees since the summer of 2020. They've not paid a loan fee to any club since the summer of 2019. Our squad has been entirely rebuilt from free transfers, free loanees, and academy graduates. Another paragraph followed. Club, who are managed by Paul Ince, called for their fans backing across the final 7 matches. We find ourselves with another huge fight on our hands. We'll need our fan support once more. So there's that. The way it currently lays out in the championship is Wigan's at the bottom at 34 points. They've had penalties as well this year for not paying players. Blackpool's at 35. They've lost 3 of 4. Huddersfield, 39 points, minus 19 in goal difference. Cardiff out of the relegation zone at 40 points. Huddersfield, by the way, has won their last 2. Cardiff, minus 14 in goal difference, 39 points. Reading now with the 6-point penalty, draws in their last 2. They've lost their other 3 in their last 5. Minus 18 goal difference, they're at 40 points after the penalty. Rotherham has lost 2 of their last 3. They drew last time out there at 41 points. QPR's at 42 points. They've lost 4 or 5. That's the group that you're staring at. 7 teams, 8 points at the bottom. And once again, I will continue to hammer this point home. Going to the bottom of the table. Let's go to the bottom half of the table. Wigan, Blackpool, Huddersfield, Cardiff, Reading, QPR, Hull, Birmingham to a larger extent. Swansea, Stoke, Sunderland, Watford. 12 teams of the bottom half 14 have had time in the Premier League, short of Birmingham City, in the last decade. You overspend to try to keep yourself in the Premier League. When it doesn't work, you suffer in the Championship. Sunderland, we know how they suffered. They've worked their way back into the Championship after being in League One. Wigan was in League One. And right now, 12 of the bottom 14 have spent time in the Premier League in the Championship. Burnley, Sheffield United, Middlesbrough, Blackburn, Norwich, West Brom. 6 of the top 10 have not, or have as well. So it's how you spend and how you survive. And some folks see those bright lights and they're sitting there going, man, this is great in the Premier League. And then when you stink and you can't piece it together, everything falls down, and then you struggle and continue to struggle. And you struggle and you drop, and you struggle and you drop, and you struggle and you drop. And then in some cases, you go away. League One right now, Sheffield Wednesday. Ask John Harkes about Sheffield Wednesday. Right now, you're at the top of League One, third division. Bolton is another one that had problems financially in the Premier League. They're in League One. Derby County has lost 4 of 5. And they're right now hovering in that spot, trying to get into the promotion playoff, possibly. Portsmouth, we all know what happened there. As a member of the Pompey Trust, trust me, I know what happened there. Then you go down, you go down, you go down. You got folks that are, probably League Two teams at best, struggling, and so they're League One, League Two pogos. League Two, I know that we're over time. When you're in League Two, you've got some familiar folks that were in League One, just kind of hanging around and, figuring out if that is who you are, that's who you are. And that's cool and all. Then you have an owner in, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, who say in 10 years that what their investment could be. They lost £3 million this year with Wrexham. But right now, with a match in hand, they could be promoted to League Two, 4th division. You got a match in hand, and it is 40. So they got 6 matches to go. Notts County has 5. Notts County is 3 points back. And Wrexham brought in Ben Foster in goal to close the deal after an injury. So Wrexham right now are Centurions. They've won 31 of 40. They've only lost twice in 40 matches this year in the National League. But they think in a decade they can be in the Premier League. When you sell Mint Mobile, you can have dreams like that. So we'll see what happens as they continue to work through it. And by the way, our friends at Scunthorpe, they're in the relegation zone, 6 points from safety, 5 matches to go. They could drop off. They got new owners, but it looks like it came in too late. Goal difference of minus 30, next to last, 34 points. They could be heading to the regional national leagues. They could be going to that next step down after all of this. So you got that. Tafka, I have no intel or sources, only my own weighing of pros and cons. Man does not need money. Absolutely reach the too rich, meaning Messi. Never spend it all. Left obtaining assets aren't necessarily available, regardless of money. Legacy achievements can't really add to his European accomplishments, but he can in North America. He can obtain rights to his own club in a way no one else can offer. It's just how he weighs the issues. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see Wrexham in League Two. Will they continue to spend money? And by the way, Sky is now in the exclusive negotiating window for EFL. They were anointed yesterday to go into the exclusive window. What happens with Wrexham charging into League Two, where they'll actually be able to see things? If you're a fan, instead of having to struggle and go, well, I'd really like to see what's going on, but I can't because the National League doesn't have their own streaming deal. So we'll keep an eye on that. Tomorrow, we'll be back at it again. And once again, keep an eye on your cup sets. We'll try to grab those folks to hop in. I'll be driving to Statesboro after the show, and we're going to go catch Tormenta and RGV. Hopefully, Dylan Butler joining us at 10. Bart will join us at 10:30 to talk about stuff like referees kneeing players in the groin, those kinds of things. USL Championship, USL League One weekend reviews. They'll be up later today on the network if you missed it. MLS weekend review is up. Next Pro weekend review is up. Prem and Proper is up. You've got matches today at 2:45 and 3. And keep an eye on your cup sets all day long. I know that you're going to be going from one to the other and the other to one and everything that starts at noon, and you're not going to be done until late night tonight, which is why we love the game and talk about it every single day. So for everybody here, I'm just John. Thanks for hanging out and sharing your thoughts. And I even forgot to read the promo about our friends at Lemonize. It's over my left shoulder. QR code for those of you watching on Twitch. Lemonize.com/Atlanta. That's your homework. So great conversation about the NWSL today. And like I said, I'm going to text Jen Hildreth and see if we can get her on the show to talk about it. Or I'll cut a 1v1 and have Jen on to discuss things about the NWSL, considering she and Lori Lindsay have been seeing the growth over the last handful of years. So, we'll keep an eye on that, and I'll knock on Jen Hildreth's door and see if we can get her on to talk about things. So for everybody here at SDH, that's another show. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05. Mucha platial, play it safe. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. We'll catch up with you in the morning.